Okay. All right. Without any further ado, we're very excited today at the 2023 Student World Impact Film Festival to have Maya from Yale University be with us here today. We're very excited to have you here, and we're looking forward to getting started with the presentation. So I will let you take it away now with the presentation. I will share my screen, and we will get started.
All right, everyone. Thank you again, Mark, for reaching out to me. I'm very excited to be here and talk to all of y'all. Like you said, my name is Maya Weldon. I'm a rising senior at Yale, and I want to work in the film industry in some capacity. So today I'm going to be speaking on taking the leap and committing to a creative career, and also taking the first step as a student, as all of you are. Next slide, Mark. So, like I said, I'm a rising senior at Yale, studying film. I'm from Stockton, California, which is a small Central Valley town in Northern California. And I recently supported myself and took a gap year doing jobs in film and media. I've done basically any job you could think of, other than maybe like sound. I've like edited. I've done, camera work. I've been an assistant to a director on a really small production company. I've, helped out on student films. I've done transcribing for documentaries. So I've just like taken any and all work I could get, and it really paid off because I was able to take this gap year without having any help from my parents, and I learned a ton. So here are some of like the companies that I've worked for, just to show you kind of the credentials. I'm not like, I'm definitely an emerging professional, but I hope I have some wisdom to offer. Okay, next slide, Mark. Okay, so I kind of conceptualize committing to a creative career as a cycle. Building a creative career that is sustainable is a process that never ends. There is really no final destination. There is no going home at the end of the day. It's a process that'll take up your entire life, your mind, your body, your soul. And from what I've learned so far, to commit to a creative career, you really have to see it as like a lifestyle. A lot of my friends are going into finance, or going to consulting, they're going to grad school. And building a creative career is a really different path than having like a 9 to 5, or committing to like, a track, like, I don't know, going to med school and becoming a doctor. Like, it's really kind of like you have to mold it yourself, and you're constantly working on it. And it's always really hard to see your direct next steps. So it's like, it's like a brain process as well as like a, physical go out there and do your job process. So here are some of the steps I think you need in this cycle. First, you have to believe in yourself. Then you have to start. Do everything everywhere all at once. You have to be humble, develop your craft, but then also value yourself. It's like a really delicate balancing act between being humble and really valuing yourself and your talents, and then also giving yourself grace and rest. So I'm going to go through each and every one of these steps, give some advice, share some stories, and then hopefully there's questions at the end. So Mark, next slide. Thank you. So the first step is to believe in yourself. There's really no reason not to. I know there's a huge stigma behind creative careers, but it's really realistic, in my opinion, just from my experience this past year, to work in the film industry if you're okay hustling and if you're okay not knowing your next steps. You can make money in the film industry, and it will be really hard mentally, but the future is film. Making money can be hard too, but when I say it will be hard, I mostly mean it's going to be hard mentally. But there's just like so many opportunities in film today, and media, and there only will continue to be opportunities in film, because the storytelling, design, film is a real career, and it's a skill set that people need, and it's a need that grows as time goes on, especially now with like the rise of AI. We've seen already with the iPhone and digital media, the need for content and entertainment, and the need for people to receive information through moving pictures is vast and massive. And so if you have a skill set that supports, moving pictures in any way, whether it's creating Instagram reels or creating or writing TV shows or, filming weddings, whatever it may be, like those are skills that people really, really need in this day and age. And I found it surprisingly really easy because of this to like make money by taking like grad photos, for example, by, filming events for nonprofits. People essentially live online and they want to turn everything in their life into some type of content that's consumable by an audience that's online. So just know that there are jobs out there for you if you want to be in a creative career, especially in my opinion, in film and media. Writing's a little more iffy with like the rise of ChatGPT, but I'm sure there's, if you want to be a writer, there's plenty of ways to do that as well. I'm not a writer as much as I am like a director, cinematographer, but this is what I know about directing and cinematography. And then also you can learn these skills. So like using a camera, learning how to work a lav, learning how to get an amazing shot, learning Premiere Pro. Those are all like skills that you can really hone in, that you can really develop. They're hard skills and they're things that people need. So you can make a career in film. Next slide, Mark. So this step is definitely the hardest step in my opinion, at least for me. And the step is starting, and to start everywhere, to do everything and to do it all at once. Maybe not all at once, but at least try everything. I think it's hard to start because I don't know, I'm a little bit lazy. I like to lay in bed too, and also it's just like really hard to like change up your routine and like realize, oh, like I actually have to like use my brain a different way for certain skills. But you got to do it. So my journey for starting was taking a class that I was interested in. I took Introduction to Documentary Filmmaking, and that it was required for me to learn how to use Premiere Pro. I don't know if I would have learned how to use Premiere Pro if I hadn't taken a class where it was a part of my grade. And from there, I joined a video journalism club, and I met an upperclassman, and she had me work as a production assistant on her student film. And then I decided to major in film. And most recently, I've done my gap year where I've, worked in the industry by some of the jobs came through connections, but most of the jobs I was just like freelancing and getting work through a freelance site called Upwork. So do everything, essentially, I guess, is my advice for how to start, and really learn what you like, but also try everything because people need everything. And the more skills you can develop, the more valuable you'll be. Okay, next, Mark. And my third step is to stay humble and to skill build, because you always have more to learn. And staying humble in this industry is not that hard, because in my experience, you're going to constantly kind of be reminded of how many skills you don't have. You're going to realize very quickly that you don't know a lot. There are so many jobs in this industry with such distinct skill sets that you don't need to use in other industries, like how to use lav mics, what camera settings to use, how to create cinematic lighting, how to do nonlinear editing, how to do script coverage, how to direct actors, how to storyboard, how to get funding. Like it goes on and on and on. And you're not going to know how to do most of these things right off the bat, let alone how to do these things well. So you really have to make learning a part of your daily routine. And this is pretty easy. It's easier than it's ever been before. Like it's very hard to like mentally, I said, get over that hump and really just start. But YouTube is an amazing resource. TikTok is an amazing resource. You know, you can like literally search up the most, I'm sure you guys have all done this, the most like specific, like how do I like do this really specific editing thing in DaVinci Resolve or in Premiere Pro? And YouTube will spit out a whole explainer video for you. So if you have those questions, Google them, learn how to do them, get your hands on your footage, get your hands on your camera, and just start and apply what you've learned. And also, like, again, like I said, you're gonna humble yourself. I was just going through some old footage to try to make a TikTok out of it, and it was all overexposed, and I was just taken back to the time where I didn't know how to change my f-stop on my camera. And yeah, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and you should like slowly but surely learn how to not make those mistakes anymore. But obviously don't be too hard on yourself. But more on that later. Okay, next slide, Mark. Yeah, so the next step is to value yourself in your work. People need your skills, and you should only accept work that is fair. So to go back to what I was saying before, you are so talented, and all of the skills you need in film, like I said, are like, apart from some certain skills, like most of them are pretty hard skills that are really teachable, really learnable. And what you do know intuitively, even if you have never picked up a camera other than your iPhone, like if you've never like, edited anything, if you want to be a filmmaker and you say you're a filmmaker and you know that you have a good eye for composition or artistry or drawing or animation or whatever, like you are a filmmaker. And the skills you have that are intrinsic to you, that thirst for wanting to make art, is incredibly valuable, and it will get you where you need to go. The animations I was seeing at the start of this Zoom were like absolutely incredible. You guys are just gonna, just have faith in yourself, have faith that you are talented, because you are. People need, like, for example, if all you can do is pick up your iPhone, but you have a really good eye for how to compose a good shot, people need that. Like your friends need their pictures taken. Like I've done a lot of grad photos. One time I got complimented because I had a really steady hand. I was shooting iPhone video of a concert, and someone was like, oh, like my boss was like, oh, you have such a steady hand. And I was like, thanks. And so apparently like not everyone has a steady hand. So just the smallest thing that you can do, be grateful for that, because it's more than a lot of other people can do. And it's one step to gaining skills that will help you make it as a filmmaker. And then once you say that you're a filmmaker, you are a filmmaker. And treat yourself like you're a filmmaker. Take yourself seriously. See yourself as a professional. Update your LinkedIn. Say that you're a filmmaker on your LinkedIn, build a little portfolio. The first things that were on my portfolio was work I shot on my iPhone for a class. It wasn't my best work, but it showed that like I had a story to tell and that I had some minor editing skills, and that's good enough. So just like treat yourself like you have something to give, and people will start treating you like that as well. And continue updating. I'm pretty bad at this. I need to like update my website as I'm a sophomore, but like, just keep slowly but surely showing the world what you can do. And taking, like, for example, Mark reached out to me on LinkedIn, and was like, oh, I bet you have some wisdom to share. And I was like, who, me? Like, I'm just a student, but I looking back, I do have some things to share, and so do you guys. So just like feel like you're valuable. And the last thing I'll say is that once you do start making money, only accept work that is fair. You don't have to like charge $1 million. Oops, what happened? I don't know what happened, but I'll finish my thought. You don't have to charge $1 million for your work. Definitely work with people's budgets, but also like don't work long unpaid days if you don't want to, and if you have better offers, and if you're exhausted and you have other things that you need to do and you need to take care of yourself. So you'll get a sense of what's fair work, and only do work that, respects your boundaries. Mark's coming back, hopefully.
Yes, I'm very sorry about that. It's good the meeting kept going. There was a power outage, and I apologize about that.
No worries.
One moment. So far, I'm very, very excited. Learning a lot of tips. Like make a LinkedIn profile. That stood out to me. Be excited about LinkedIn, about like, different programs to network. Get out there as a shelf as a filmmaker. Definitely all great things. So let me just pull this up so we can review it.
Totally. And I'm sure, like, as you guys get, more experience in the industry, people will tell you networking is like one of the most important things you can do. And that's pretty much true. Yeah. A lot of my work has come from connections that I made at school. I haven't really ever networked super intentionally, but I think I'm definitely going to start doing that because I realize the value it has. And then also, apart from networking, I think that like the other tool I've used to get jobs is through Upwork, which is a freelance site, but the people that you meet on Upwork and the people that you work for on Upwork are also people that you will inevitably be like networking with through your work. So keep those contacts. I was honestly thinking about making a spreadsheet somewhere of everyone I know, their number, their email. You kind of have to systematize people that you want to work with in the future, or think that you might want to have a chance of working with in the future, and systematize how to keep track of those contacts and reach out to them. Which sounds networking always sounds a little bit like I don't know, tricky to me, iffy to me, but you got to do it, unfortunately. Okay, next slide, Mark. Okay, awesome. So this is the last step, is to give yourself grace and to give yourself rest. This industry is really hard. And I wanted to share this clip of Neil Patrick Harris, where he's basically talking about what it's like to be in the film industry. So I don't know if you can play it, Mark.
But it is a profound story for me. When I first started on the Doogie Howser Spectacular, Stephen Bochco sat me down at lunch, took me and my parents to lunch, and talked to me, as he always did, like a human person, co-worker, not like a child.
How old were you at this point?
I was 15.
Okay.
It was during the pilot. So I got the gig at the last minute, and he sat me down, and I was from New Mexico and was very, very green. And he sat me down and said, this industry is like surfing, is that you have to get on a surfboard and paddle through and wait for a long time, hoping that you catch a wave, and you'll try and catch them and you'll miss them and someone else will catch them and everyone will cheer. And eventually you'll catch a wave and you'll ride it and it'll be fantastic and you'll be really great and you'll get all the way to the end, and then the wave will inevitably crash and you'll have to turn around and you'll have to paddle back out and you'll have to get hit by waves as you get back out there. And then once you get out there, you're gonna have to sit around there for a long time waiting for another wave to come along. But the way that surfing works is that there are always sets of waves that will always come through, and that the goal is to be patient enough to value that metaphor.
Right.
And I did. So I think while I was worried that I may never work again, I managed to continue to work again. So I thought, well, I'm not getting gigs in LA. I'm only getting offered TV movies, which is not a bad thing. Like once a year, I would get offered great money for 4 weeks in Toronto or Vancouver to film a Christmas film or a movie where I kill my parents and with a wood maul. And I'd go and I'd meet the real
one
kid.
in my research.
That was good. And Not Our Son.
That was an actual movie.
Yeah, Not Our Son.
Okay, Mark, I think
Johnny
we
Galecki.
got the best bit. Yeah, so he's basically like, this industry is like surfing. And that's what I kind of mean when I say it's really hard to know your next steps, your next move. You're basically constantly looking for work, developing your skill set, getting better, searching, networking. And that's just something that you have to be okay with. And that's why I say, like, give yourself grace and rest, because there's going to be lulls in your career. There's going to be lulls in your work. And you have to be okay with that. You also have to be okay with taking some time, because it's like a hamster wheel, right? It can be a hamster wheel, looking for work, stressing about work, developing your skills, getting better, trying to find your next steps. And that can be exhausting. And it actually, it can lead to burnout. So you have to be okay with kind of pausing for a little moment and catching your breath and allowing that to keep propelling you forward. So next slide, Mark.
I've said.
So more on rest. It's absolutely crucial to make good work and last in this industry through rest, because it's literally an investment in yourself. Like, if you're not sleeping, if you're not eating well, if you're working, a PA job, every month out of the year, you're gonna feel discouraged, you're gonna feel burnt out. You really need to create a lifestyle for yourself within this industry that sustains you, that uplifts you, that makes you happy, or else there's really no point in being in this industry. You want to feel creative, you want to feel energized, and you can't do that if you're running yourself into the ground. My second point is that this industry is brutal. If you're rejected, it doesn't mean you aren't talented. It just means that there's a combination of forces, other people applying, who's reading it, what they're looking for, and you just weren't the right fit at that moment. But just like, have faith that your wave is going to come, and that right at that moment you are paddling back to the shore. And then my last tip on this slide is that perfectionism stops you from making work, and you will make bad things and mess up for a long time, probably for your whole careers. Just basically making mistakes and learning from them. And that's necessary to get better and to make good things. So even if you feel like, for example, this past year, like I've said a lot already, like I took a gap year and I had never worked like professionally. I'd never taken myself seriously as a professional. Had always thought I was going to become do like a more standard job, like, I don't know, work in government or something like that. And then at some point during college, decided, wait, I'm actually going to do a creative career. And when I took my gap year, it was my first big leap. I wasn't making fantastic work, but I was making work that people still needed and wanted and would pay me for. So don't beat yourself up if you're not making, an Oscar-winning movie every single day. Be okay with doing things that are mediocre as long as you're doing things, and you'll get better. If you have a drive to get better, you will get better. Like, don't aim to make mediocre work. Always do your best, but also give yourself grace. And it's really hard to be young and to be learning new skills and to be, working as a professional. You don't know as much as everyone else. You're not as confident as everyone else, and that's okay. So long as you're working slowly to get there. So I guess I'll tell you some more about my gap year because it has to do with grace a lot, and giving myself rest. Because at the end of my junior year, I had applied to like a bunch of big internships, and I had gotten to the final round of interviews, but I didn't get the internships in the end, and I was feeling really, really discouraged and burnt out. I felt like my portfolio wasn't where I wanted to be when I was graduating. And I knew I needed some time to focus on working, but also some time to rest. So I took this gap and I worked part-time doing freelance, volunteering on student films, etc. I did some script coverage, but I also slept in a lot. I hung out with my friends. I sat in my room and reflected on what I wanted to do the next year and after graduation. And it really did me wonders. Like, I just think the biggest thing in this cycle is learning how to ebb and flow with yourself, learning how to give yourself grace, but also learning when it's time to, step it up and start something, or learning when you need to value yourself, but also learning when to be humble. So it's like a nice, flowy, balancing act. And I think that's what it really takes to make it as a creative in this industry where work, you never know your next step. So great. I think that's it for my presentation. I know it's supposed to be 45 minutes, but I don't know. Can we open it up for questions, Mark?
Yes. All right, thank you very much, Maya. We loved the presentation. I learned some things as well. That was wonderful. So yeah, thank you for your presentation, Maya. So today we had Maya from Yale University, and now we're going to be going into the Q&A session. So if you could type in chat questions you have for Maya, that would be great, and we'll go from there. So I see we have a few questions already. One question is, Maya, I love your presentation. What is your favorite film?
Oh, not this question. I should have prepared. Like I have a lot of favorite movies. This is gonna sound kind of, I don't know, it's not like a I feel like a lot of film bros wouldn't give this answer, but one of my favorite movies ever is Bridget Jones' Diary. It's not like an art house film, but I think it was just like really well done. And I tend to really love like female perspectives, kind of female anti-heroes who don't really have their stuff together. So I love Bridget. Trying to think of some other movies that I love. I love The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Yeah, I have a wide-ranging taste. Let me think, what else? I love like really epic movies like the Titanic. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, you can't do that to me. No, this presentation about you. Yeah.
No. What's your favorite movie, Mark?
I think Titanic was really good. Yeah, like you said. Also, recently, Everything Everywhere All at Once was a great movie. Got a lot of awards too. But yeah, that's great. Yeah. So the next question, we have one from Natalia. She says, "Hi, I love your presentation. What was the freelance work website you mentioned earlier called? Thank you so much."
Totally. The freelance work website I use is Upwork. I know Fiverr, so it's spelled UPWORK. And Fiverr is another one. I don't know why I chose Upwork over Fiverr. I haven't looked into Fiverr. But it's a great place to find new clients. I will say they take a considerable amount of your money. They take like 20% of your money that you get if you do things through Upwork. So what I like to do is like, make a client, do it through Upwork. You need to like do your first jobs through Upwork system, but then once your client knows you and you have a relationship, then they can just reach out to you and you can do your own business affairs without the website because they take quite a bit of money from you. But you have to like, if you start a contract on Upwork, like a part of Upwork's rules is that you need to like do it through Upwork. So don't do anything shady, just build relationships and then they can reach out to you directly.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have a question from Rajat. He says, "Hi, I'm from India, and there's a lot of competition in Bollywood. I'm an actor, director, and a writer. Is it good to have all these skills, or should I focus on one only?"
Wow. That's a big question. I'm not like super educated on Bollywood. But would I know? I guess what I would suggest is to just keep working. Like, don't turn down work just because it's not in like your specific niche. And also, writing, directing, and acting inform one another. So I think it is probably valuable to skill build as much as possible, as much as you can, and just keep working. So that would be my number one piece of advice. Um, but then, like, for example, if you're getting a ton of like jobs in all of these different niches and you can afford to be like, actually, no, I'm not going to take this acting gig, I'm going to do directing, focus on directing instead. I would say maybe once you have that like those plethora of opportunities available, maybe choose one and really develop that skill set, because I think people will generally pin you in like once you get to a certain level into one niche, and it's important to be able to like really be like like really develop your skills, like go from like like an emerging director to like a professional director. You really need to like hone in on one skill set. So as an emerging artist, take everything you can, everything that you can get, learn everything, but once you start having these opportunities, pick one and like try to rise, is what I would think, but who knows. I'm not there yet either.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Maya. And now we have a question from Method. They say, "How do you keep yourself motivated when things aren't going your way?"
You know, that's a really tough question. It can get pretty hard. I think it's really hard to believe in yourself, especially if you haven't, I don't know, if you've hit like a bunch of roadblocks in a row. You have to really have a way to like fill your cup. So like I don't know if any of you guys know, there's, I think it was Oprah who like was basically saying like to fill, like to be able to like be a creative and to fill up all of your cups and to fill up everyone else's cup and to do good work, you yourself have to be your most rested, your most positive, your most energetic, your most confident self. And to do that, really, I think you need to have positive self-talk. You need to rest, you need to eat well, you need to exercise, you need to feel your best. And then also be okay starting small. So like for example, if you haven't like let's say you want to be a photographer, or you want to take like, like you want to learn how to like do portrait photography and no one's hiring you, pick up a camera and just do it on your own and be proud of the work you're doing. And that's a really hard ask. Another helpful tool I have is a really supportive community. My mom, for example, is really, really supportive of me, which I know is like not everyone can say that, especially when it comes to having a creative career. So if your mom's really supportive, show your work to your mom. If your mom's not supportive, show your work to your dad. If your dad's not supportive, show your work to your artistic friends, make online communities, post on TikTok, try to like make friends and, a support network in whatever way you can. And I think that's probably what keeps me going, because I'm not doing it for like an outcome then. I'm just doing it because I'm having fun.
Yeah, thank you, Maya. That's definitely wonderful advice. Now we have a comment. It says, "It's a good and informative presentation, Maya." And thanks to Mark as well. So that's a nice comment. Thank you. And now we have a next.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We have our next question from Anne. She says, "Hi, Maya. Thank you for your presentation. I just graduated and I hope you can give some advice on this. I'm honestly torn between choosing to specialize and study for film by taking short courses or applying for jobs, because I don't know what to feel in working in the commercial field, especially with limitation of artistic expression."
Totally. So I think this is really hard. Again, like really great question, really hard dilemma for people who are in film. Like, do you take the job that's going to give you stability, or do you like try to make art on your own independently? And I think as much as possible, this is a hard answer to give, but do both. So for me personally, I'm having this exact same dilemma. Like, do I try to get a 9 to 5, like in like media somewhere? Do I try to get funding for an independent film? How am I going to pay my bills? Do I freelance? Do I get an MFA? Like how do I do this? And I think like what I've settled on is work as much as possible for a few years. So, go out, get your 9 to 5, make some connections in whatever niche like industry that you get a job in. Really make those connections. Try your best to be creative in some capacity on the side. When you get home, try to your best to be writing a script, or try your best to be making videos for TikTok or freelancing or whatever. And then my ultimate, I think like for me personally, I mean, this is not going to apply to everyone, but I think by the time I've like made some roots in the industry, I think I will try to apply for an MFA, which will give you a bigger network where you can really hone in on your craft some more. And hopefully at that point, just like have like the foundation you need to be able to like write a script and submit it to like an, like a incubation program, or submit it or pitch it to producers, or like, have the connections to like get an assistant job for a writer or something like that. Work on TV, whatever, like that's the path that I see myself going for. But who knows, it could change. And I think it's just like genuinely like a balancing act of like your needs for your lifestyle and what you think is going to have the biggest payoff creatively long term. And you have to play the long game, I think, a little bit, which is unfortunate because you might suffer a little bit in the short term. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your advice, Maya. And now we have a question. It says, I'm a short film director in India, but currently studying in Dubai. And how would I approach getting a producer for a feature film?
Wow, that's a big question. So I really don't know a ton about this. Like I'm a student. What I think, so I mean, at least I don't know, about Dubai, but in the US, there's a bunch of like, incubation programs, pitching, programs, so that when you have your script ready, you can pitch to producers, you can pitch to investors. So a couple projects I worked on this past year had to do with pitching to producers and investors. One, I did script coverage, and I was basically on the review committee for this company called the Gotham, which is a nonprofit, which had a week-long basically project market. So people would submit their scripts to the Gotham, and a review committee would choose a handful of scripts, like 20 out of like hundreds of submissions. And those scripts would, for a week, be able to like meet a bunch of like producers, meet a bunch of investors, directors, actors, whatever, and have the potential to team up with them and get funding for their projects. So that's one way I know about it, is like through these specific programs. I don't know how you just do it out in the wild, and like I think that's definitely like has to do with like your connections and what networks you know and who you know. But I'm sure there's like a more systematized way to do it. I just don't know about it. I also worked on a feature documentary, and they were looking for investors. They weren't looking for a producer. They had a producer. And I think you really just the way the director met the producer was literally just through knowing her and reaching out. And like being like saying that they both agreed on the concept and then becoming a team. But the way they're looking for investors was also just by knowing people and reaching out and just like racking their brains of anyone who would be interested in funding their project, because they basically had shot most of it. They were just going to have a few shoot days and then edit and go into and fund their post-production. They were also thinking about reaching out to specific really small networks and TV networks in like abroad. So they were looking at like networks in like really small countries in Europe that might be interested in this film and buying it from them and doing distribution for them, because it was a film about a diplomat who was, really prominent. And so they thought it had like international reach. So it's hard. It's hard is what I would say. You have to know people. And if you're doing independent film, look at independent film like incubation programs that are in Dubai.
Okay, thank you very much, Maya. And with that, we're going to wrap up our speaker session today with Maya Weldon from Yale University. Thank you very much, Maya, for being with us here today. It was terrific having you, learning about your filmmaking journey, about your film, and everything that you do as a filmmaker. It's truly inspiring. We're very excited to have had you here today. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.